Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Vrindavana Dham. Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Radha Shama Sundar Radhe. Jaya Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada. Itagor Premanandi. So we read a little bit from Prabhupada, your ever well-wisher. Chapter entitled The Last Instruction. Speaking into the hand microphone of his dictating machine, Shishikharantaya Mayapur Sashiki. Oblivious of his bodily condition, Prabhupada described patiently and methodically how Nanda Maharaj's family priest Garga Muni performed the name-giving ceremony for baby Krishna. In his purpose, Prabhupada often spoke from his personal experiences and realization. Sometimes sitting in the pre-dawn open air on the second floor veranda and sometimes in the humid heat of bright afternoon, Srila Prabhupada worked, describing the limitless Vedic knowledge, just as his predecessors, the Goswamis and Krishnadas Kaviraj had done when worshipping Krishna and Lord Chaitanya while living in Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada, however, was the first great Acharya to make Krishna conscious literature available to persons of all countries throughout the world, regardless of birth status or previous character. Even as he composed the latest chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam, thousands of young men and women were working on his behalf to preach the Vedic message to the world. His disciples were in fact keenly aware of how Srila Prabhupada was producing the 10th canto purports in Vrindavan, and they prayed to Lord Krishna that he be allowed to continue for many years so that he could complete the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So we continue our study from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 20, from text 61 onwards, and text 63 is a purport. So we'll do text 63 together. Until then, I can read the sloka and translation myself. And today is Rath Yatra in Edinburgh. So devotees from Karuna Bhavan will be going to participate in the Rath Yatra in in Edinburgh. So we'll be ending the class a bit early than usual. अक्ष्णो फलं त्वदृशदर्शिनं हि तनोफलं त्वदृशगात्रसङ्ग जीवाफलं त्वदृशकीर्तनं हि सुदुर्लभ भागवत हि लोके. My dear Vaishnava, seeing a person like you is the perfection of one's eyesight. Touching your lotus feet is the perfection of the sense of touch. And glorifying your good qualities is the tongue's real activity. For in the material world, it is very difficult to find a pure devotee of the Lord. So, this Mahaprabhu is instructing Srila Sanatan Goswami. इत कही कहे प्रभु सुन सनातन कृष्ण बड़ा दयामय पतित पावन. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, my dear Sanatan, please hear from me. Krishna is very merciful and he is the deliverer of all fallen souls. So this we can do together. महारौरव हईते तोम करिल उद्धार कृपार समुद्र कृष्ण गंभीर अपार महारौरव हईते तोम करिल उद्धार कृपार समुद्र कृष्ण गंभीर अपार महारौरव हईते तोम करिल उद्धार कृपार समुद्र कृष्ण गंभीर अपार. Please chant. महारौरव হইতে তোমা করিল উদ্ধার কৃপার সমুদ্র কৃষ্ণ গম্ভীর অপার. महारौरव হইতে তোমা করিল উদ্ধার কৃপার সমুদ্র কৃষ্ণ গম্ভীর অপার. महारौरव হইতে from the deepest hellish condition of life. Toma, you, Karila Uddhara, has delivered. Kripa Samudra, the ocean of mercy. Krishna, Krishna, Gambhira, very grave. Apara, unlimitedly. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada ki. My dear Sanatan, Krishna has saved you from Maharorava, life's deepest hell. He is an ocean of mercy and his activities are very grave. Purport. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 1861, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Riddhadesha Arjuna Tishtati. Staying within everyone's heart, Lord Krishna works very gravely. No one can understand how he is working, but as soon as the Lord understands the sincere activity of a person in devotional service, he helps him in such a way that the devotee cannot understand how things are happening. If the devotee is determined to serve the Lord is always prepared to help him. Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling Sanatan Goswami how merciful the Lord is. Sanatan Goswami was a minister in the service of Nawab Hussain Shah. He was always mixing with materially inclined people, particularly with Muslims, meat eaters. Although he was in intimate touch with them, by Krishna's mercy he came to find association distasteful. He came to find such association distasteful. Therefore he left them. As stated by Srinivas Acharya, त्यक्त्वा तूर्णमशेषमण्डलपतिशृणं सदा तुच्छवत्. Krishna enlightened Sanatan Goswami in such a way that he was able to give up his exalted post as minister. Thinking his material position insignificant, Sanatan was prepared to become a mendicant. Appreciating the activities of Sanatan Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu praised his action and thanked Krishna for his mercy upon him. वैराग्य विद्या निज भक्ति योगा शिक्षार्थमेक पुरुष पुराना श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य शरीर धारी कृपाम्बुतिर्य तमहं प्रपद्ये मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारणम् वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। Lord Shiva in his conversation with Mother Parvati says, Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnur aradhanam param tasmat parataram devi tadyanam samarjanam. Aradhanam sarvesham, of all aradhana, of all worship, Vishnur aradhanam param. Worship of Lord Vishnu is best. And best meaning there is no comparison. There is no comparison. Worship of Lord Vishnu, it's not like, okay, it is better than that. Many a times, many spiritual practitioners, out of their ignorance, they think that they are glorifying Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, that they are glorifying Lord Shri Krishna, but they are just revealing their own ignorance only. So there is no comparison to Vishnu Archana, Vishnu Puja, Vishnu worship, Lord Vishnu worship. Then further on, Lord Shiva says, even higher than Lord worship of Lord Vishnu is what? Tadyanam. Of Lord Vishnu's, those who are of Lord Vishnu's, those who are Vishnu's, worshipping them is the highest, even the highest achievement of a life. So worshipping Vaishnavas, glorifying Vaishnavas, serving Vaishnavas is the highest glory of life. And it is not something, see, it is very easy to glorify someone who is not present in front of us. It is very easy, perhaps it is easy to develop a mood, a desire, a longing, or to worship or to serve someone who is not physically present. Who is, say, a person in the past, oh, yeah, I would have served him like this, I would have served him, her like that. So, but Mahaprabhu's mercy, Prabhupada's mercy, we have devotees presently. And it is in what light do we see them, how do we interact, and how do we serve, and how do we live. There are devotees there, presently present. So this Mahaprabhu, no, we read in text 61 says, My dear Vaishnava, seeing a person like you is the perfection of one's eyesight. Touching your lotus feet is the perfection of the sense of touch. Glorifying your good qualities is the tongue's real activity. For in the material world it is very difficult to find a pure devotee of the Lord. Wow. It is the highest honor for a conditioned soul to be able to glorify devotees of Lord Vishnu and to be able to glorify a pure devotee of the Lord. One should never hesitate in glorification. There is no limit in glorification, and one should never hesitate. See, one thing is exaggeration, but in glorification, there can never be exaggeration. When we exaggeration, right? Like, saying something than what it is in not in reality, saying something extra or more. No. When glorifying acharyas, when glorifying Vishnu, when glorifying devotees, there is no exaggeration. It is only a limitation in our consciousness that we might seem that okay, this is an exaggeration, this is too much, uh, this is too much. Bhakti can never be too much. No one can do too much bhakti, no one can do too much glorification, no one can do too much service. Few days back we were reading, right, that Prabhupada was mentioning Bhakti Vinod Thakur. He did so much of service and he could have done everything, but it was his kindness that he left it some for us. And today's verse, Mahaprabhu is saying, Sanatan Goswami, Krishna has saved you from Maharorava, life's deepest hell, burning hell, agony. He is in an ocean of mercy and his activities are very grave. And our Panchatattva Prabhu, he recites Sad Goswami Ashtakam, right? He recites, he sings, and very nice, uh, keeping these prayers close to our heart, singing and chanting them. This is our only jewel or ornament, no? Glorifying these prayers. What is difficult in this human form of life is to come out of a limited vision. We all carry a very limited vision. And because of this limited vision, conditioned limited vision, we cannot have any attraction towards eternity. Struggle to develop attraction towards eternity. And when we develop an attraction towards eternity, it will haunt us. It will haunt us. Staying in this material world, we will be haunted throughout. Srila Sanatan Goswami, as he was serving as Prime Ministers in the assembly of the Muslim king Nawab Hussain Shah, was struggling so much to cope up with his, say, ministerial job. And then finally, okay, in the pretext like, okay, I'm sick, with sick leave. And what was he doing? He was relishing Srimad Bhagavatam in his courtyard, in his house, with assembled with other Vaishnavas, studying Srimad Bhagavatam. Once one is um, induced, or once one is introduced and experiences some mercy of Mahaprabhu, then one should not afford to not develop a vision towards eternity. Was it Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj who was said like, we go to Calcutta for a preaching program or for some temple darshan or some program, some activity, some engagement for a day trip or 2 day trip from Navdeep. Gaur Kishodas Babaji Maharaj was it him? He said like, I don't want to go into the material world, the place of karmis and so on. No? So when one is enlightened in Krishna consciousness, one will be very careful of his association, and it is to develop a trace of attraction towards eternity. Then one can continue further, chasing that, say dream of eternity, that trace, that glimpse of eternity, and develop further and further attraction towards it. And genuinely, a longing, a separation has to be experienced in the practice of Krishna consciousness. Genuinely, a cry has to come out in the practice of Krishna consciousness. And one has to experience, one has to see that whatever situation, condition of life we are living in, one has to realize, one has to see that yes, this is the deepest hell I am living in. Doesn't matter, one could be living in a city like Glasgow or Edinburgh or London, relatively looks like a much more posh place to live than say live elsewhere, maybe India or wherever. Relatively, it looks like, oh, a bit physical comforts are better, life is better, and this is again human form of life, or this conditioned life wherein we love to settle down. We humans are crying to settle down, and we want to settle down, and we love to settle down. But in material world, there's no question of settling down. There's no settle down. One could be living in London or again in big cities, Edinburgh. Relatively looks like rich, posh in comparison to, but there is no settling down. And one cannot settle down in Krishna consciousness as well. There's no settling down in Krishna consciousness. So this vision has to be developed, and one has to genuinely check out for himself or herself that what is my life, what am I doing. Job could be fine, health could be fine, money could be fine, relationships could be fine, everything could be fine, but still one has to see this. And blessed are those, really blessed are those who are cornered in life, who have been cornered. Arjun was cornered. Krishna's arrangement, Krishna cornered him in the battlefield, and he was completely confused. Likewise, Parikshit Maharaj was cornered out of nowhere hearing this curse. Prabhupada was also cornered in his life throughout, trying to set up a business so that the money, the profits could be used in practicing Krishna consciousness, in preaching, in propagating Krishna consciousness, but he was cornered. Everything was taken away. Harishya tad dhanam sana. Krishna took everything bit by bit, gradually by gradually. And this taking away is what? Giving more opportunity for devotee association, more opportunity for uh, taking shelter of the holy name. We are so stuck up in our mind, heavily conditioned. Even though we know what is right, say, but we don't have that energy to put it into action. And this was the case we see throughout in scriptures, many places, many instances. And this is Krishna using them to help us understand. It is in good association we can understand how to act. And if we feel we are cornered in life, it's a great thing. It's a great achievement. See, anything, okay, it was this habit of mine, or it was a poor habit of mine that got me into Krishna consciousness. We should become so grateful. Oh wow, some poor habit of mine brought me into Krishna consciousness. That yes, and then we can see where I was, what I was, or even any gentle habit as well. Some piety. There are devotees before coming into Krishna consciousness. They were also following four regulative principles. But there is no comparison coming into Krishna consciousness, and if one thinks, well, I was anyways pious enough. I was anyways pious, and I was anyways following this four regulative principles, and I was still doing some bhajan. Still, if one cannot experience this separation, this longing from Mahaprabhu, and ultimately, Swarup Jagriti, na? Ultimately understanding one's Swarup, one's identity, one's role, one's position, one's relationship with the divine couple. Nothing has been gained as such then, nothing. Since eternity, we are used to temporariness. Since eternity. Since eternity, we are used to settling down. Human form of life, we have made a pact with compromise. We have signed a deal with compromise, and in compromise is where we find our solace. Okay, let us stick here. Okay, fine, let us deal with this. Okay, on this note, maybe I will take a pause if there are any thoughts, questions, comments, or clarifications. Hmm. Sure. When we say it is the necessity to glorify, well, it is not necessary in the sense when it is necessary to glorify means what? There is a thing in the head. There's some mind involved, some intelligence involved. To say it is necessary to chant Hare Krishna. That okay, I've done some comparison, some conclusion and all, and this is the niskars, this is the conclusion. Say that okay, yes, is no, it is the heart's call altogether. It is natural. It is what it is. This is the thing. Say. And again, we are not living in a community of devotees. It is not to act good or sound good or to please others or to be in line with the contemporary society as such. Of course, we follow rules, regulations, we respect society and everything. But it is not like so that we all come as a group, a community, and we share good respect with each other and to show in the outside world that it's a healthy community and like that. And inside, when we are in the ashram having some clashes, there is no room for what? There's no room for hot war in Krishna consciousness. So much so there is no room for cold war as well in Krishna consciousness. No. Within devotees, not sure Panchatattva Prabhu if this is in line with your question or thing. There's no room for hot war or cold war or any sort of such such conflicts. We may not be best of friends with each and every devotee, but one thing if I can do in life is have no conflict with someone. How can I possibly enter the transcendental realm which is free of conflict, where there is no conflict, if I am holding conflict against someone? A realm which is full of joy, a realm which knows nothing but love, pure love, a realm where even if there is conflict, it is to enhance the joy of Radha and Krishna. So That light, the heart has to go that light. The heart has to go that simple. No room for any conflicts. We say, na, it is a non-sectarian movement. It is a non-sectarian movement. The chanting Hare Krishna is non-sectarian. The services, the everything what we are doing is uh, bringing out that actual nature of the soul proper, to love and serve Krishna, to develop this culture, to bring out that nature of the soul proper to love and serve Krishna. So it is not and not any mental imposition or intellectual imposition that let us do it this way so that we come across as good. No, of course we are not in the or I'm in my conditioned state. Shishikorantai Mayapur Sashiki. So, not at the level that we are living the philosophy, mm, but somewhere we need to understand and somewhere we need to make a start, somewhere we need to pray. Blessed are those who can spot a pure devotee in their life, and then life can change 360-degree. So, human form of life actually is meant to inquire into God, and when we take into devotional life, then it is meant to inquire into a pure devotee of the Lord. That is the best inquiry. Searching out for a pure devotee of the Lord. That's the easiest, secure, surest way, quickest way to attain Krishna. So, yes, it is not like in society, generally, it is observed what you scratch my back, I scratch your back, and we work it this way. Uh, not in devotional community, it shouldn't be like that. But having said that, one should never breach etiquette. Hmm. One should, even if one is not able to glorify or one has to force himself to be humble, one should be humble. One should not be blunt. One should not be blunt in sadhu assembly, in the assemblies of devotees. What good is that blunt? Mm, It's not a good culture, no? One should not breach the culture and the etiquette. And living with Vaishnavas, one should genuinely develop this mood to soften the heart altogether. And the world is still here, the world is going nowhere. 500 years back, there were some traditions, some rules, regulations, 5,000 years back also, and coming 500 years also, and in 5,000 years as well. Isha Upanishad says, na, the world is imperfect and all, but yet it is perfect. And perfection is what? It is an individual's prerogative. This is why Krishna consciousness is completely non-sectarian. Spiritual life completely non-sectarian. No other thing than to glorify Lord. No other thing than to glorify Lord and Lord's devotees. Does that somewhat answer say or in line with your question or thing? Yes, ma'am. They can get uncomfortable. When we glorify them, they might can get uncomfortable, and that is because of their humility. That is because of the humility. But our act should not be in a way that even if, like, say, glorifying them, it should not make them feel uncomfortable or it should not make them feel uh, not joyous, not happy about it. Things should be done that pleases them, it pleases them. And sometimes, like, yes, culture and etiquette, okay, that Vaishnava out of culture and his humility doesn't want to be served, but then we should not be taking those sort of, say, instructions or those sort of things. No, we genuinely want to serve. Like Vaishnavas genuinely, they wouldn't want that, okay, we prepare their bed for them and things like that. Say, huh? We wash their plates, prepare their beds, or get things ready in advance for them and all. And they may say, no, don't do this again. But what should we do? We should do it again. They may say that don't do this again. But depends like somewhere uh, is like to really we want to serve and demonstrate and go forward. But something that is making uneasy, we shouldn't do that. That okay, I'm trying to glorify, but it is making you uneasy. Depends on the situation, circumstance, and could be also on the relationship we share with them. But nothing should be done in a manner that actually makes them uncomfortable or uneasy. Our intent should be to please them, to make them more happy, not to make them tolerate us as such. Panchatattva Prabhu saying something. Yeah, 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 of course, of course. Just on glorification, as Panchatattva Prabhu mentioned, it is nice if it is specific and accurate. Accurate also, okay. We are not so much like okay, was that point accurate or not accurate? Say, but if it is something bringing some specifics, many times it is observed. What we go to a retreat or something, 3 day, 4 day retreat. What did you like? Oh, loved it, so good. What was so good? Oh, everything was so good. Everything. What to describe? I just cannot describe. It was so good. Something has to be brought out. No, this particular. And on exaggeration, if someone hears this, the lotus feet of our spiritual master, the whole translation say. Now, one who has not has this faith for him, it could be a big exaggeration. Wow. Reading this, Krishna consciousness is a cult proper. Hmm? That spiritual master, the friend of the poor, attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. A proper recipe for cult, right? But when one is actually sheltered and surrendered, and one shares that relationship with his Guru Maharaj, which is the most sacred, most pure, most divine, beyond description relationship, then one can see, and there is no exaggeration in that. There is no, we'll find that 24 hours is less. Dhyam tu yasastri sandhyam. It's not like, okay, meditating 3 times and Gayatri 3 times, no? Throughout it should be 24 hours in a mode or in thought, and how blessed have we been made, say. So in glorification there cannot be like exaggeration, and if we are exaggerating, faking it up, say in our glorification and all, then that will also is going to make us humble. That is going to make us humble. I, Anything we do to get self obsession or self attention, na? Yeah, sometimes it can be that we are trying to glorify someone, and it may appear that it is rather to show that that person actually is not that glorious. But we are saying in a way that look, I'm glorifying you, but the message is you are not that glorious. Are you getting the message which I'm trying to say? I'm glorifying you in words, but thing is you are not that glorious. So you understand what change you need to make and all. So nothing in a way that to highlight that how good a speaker one is, eloquent and all, cultured, well behaved, and no, it should all be genuinely to please devotees and please Lord, if we want to attain the transcendental realm. Otherwise we have been satisfying ourselves since eternity with limited vision only. Okay, on this note maybe we should um, give it rest here. Thank you very much for your kind attention and participation. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Hridaya Gaur Premanandi.